They said she didn't belong, that she wasn't worthy of the speech competition. But when Olivia took the microphone, the entire academy listened. Word by word, she dismantled everyone's prejudices, and what she said became unforgettable. Stay until the end and see how a young woman of humble origins shook the elite with her voice. Before we begin, like and subscribe so we can keep creating stories like this one. The sun beat down mercilessly on the cobblestone streets of Riverdale, a historic town where traditions weighed as heavily as its limestone walls. Among buildings of earthy colors and flowered balconies stood the prestigious Wellington Academic Institute, home to the children of the region's most influential families. Olivia Ramirez knew from the first day she set foot in that place. Her presence was like a stain on the perfect canvas the school pretended to be. At 17, with her robust body and round cheeks, she was the perfect target for furtive glances and poorly disguised laughter. It was enough for her to enter the classroom for an uncomfortable silence to settle, followed by whispers and nudges among the popular kids. "Look who's here, the one who bends the chairs," whispered Madison Foster, the mayor's daughter, to her entourage of followers who laughed as if it were the best joke ever told. Olivia pretended not to hear. She headed to the last desk, that corner she had claimed as her own, where she could go unnoticed and immerse herself in her notes and books. It wasn't just her physique that separated her from the rest, it was also her background. While most came from wealthy families, she was the daughter of the school cook, Mrs. Sarah. An academic privilege granted out of compassion, as they often reminded her. "Good morning, students," announced Professor Alexander Mitchell upon entering, a 40-year-old man with perceptive eyes and an apparent neutrality that Olivia had learned to distrust. "Today we'll talk about the state speech competition." The classroom came alive. The competition was the most prestigious event of the year, a platform where students showcased their eloquence before business people and public figures. It was, officially, the springboard for a brilliant career in the right circles. "As you know, only the best will represent our institution," continued Mitchell, his eyes strategically scanning the classroom, lingering on certain faces, ignoring others. "Registration will begin tomorrow through the debate club coordinators." It was no secret to anyone who would be chosen. The debate club was controlled by an elite headed by Derek Morgan, son of a hotel businessman and Madison's boyfriend. Derek, with his magazine model profile and practiced verbiage, was the favorite to win, as his older brother had been years before. When class ended, Olivia intentionally delayed, slowly putting away her things. She waited for everyone to leave before approaching Professor Mitchell's desk. "Professor, I'd like to register for the competition," she said in a soft but firm voice. Mitchell looked up from his papers, his face revealing a mixture of surprise and something resembling pity. "Olivia, this competition is demanding. It requires a certain presence, a certain confidence." He chose his words carefully. "Perhaps you could help with the logistics. You're excellent at organizing." "I want to participate as a speaker," she insisted, her heart beating strongly but her gaze steady. "The rules say that any student with an average above 8 can register. I have 9.5. The professor adjusted his glasses, visibly uncomfortable. "The rules also state that you need experience in the debate club. I was never invited to join." "Exactly, Olivia. You have no experience," he smiled with false kindness. "But I'll talk to the coordinator, Ms. Sophia. Maybe she can make an exception." Olivia nodded, knowing perfectly well that this exception would never come. She left the classroom with her back straight, ignoring the looks from a group of students waiting outside. Among them was Derek, with his arm possessively around Madison's waist. "What were you doing in there, Fatty?" "Asking for extra classes so you don't fail," Madison mocked. "I signed up for the speech competition," Olivia replied calmly, enjoying for a second the expression of disbelief on their faces before walking away. The news spread like wildfire through the hallways. By lunchtime, everyone knew that the scholarship Fatty wanted to participate in the competition. The laughter and cruel comments multiplied. In the cafeteria, where Olivia usually sat alone, someone left a hamburger with a note so you can practice your speech with your mouth full. With a heavy heart but unwavering determination, she headed to the small kitchen where her mother worked. Mrs. Sarah, a petite woman but with an imposing presence, was serving soup in large stainless steel pots. "Mom, I signed up for the speech." "Competition," said Olivia as she put on an apron to help. Sarah put down the ladle and looked at her daughter with a mixture of pride and concern. "Sweetie, are you sure? Those competitions are for the rich kids who have parents with influence." "That's exactly why," Olivia replied, stirring the soup firmly. "Someone has to show them that they're not the only ones with the right to speak." Sarah sighed, recognizing in her daughter that stubbornness she herself had passed down. "You know they're going to make your life impossible, right?" Olivia nodded. She already knew. She had known it since she decided not to bow her head, since she started raising her hand in class to answer questions no one else knew how to answer, since she got the best grades despite the obstacles. That same afternoon, after finishing her homework, Olivia locked herself in her small room in the service house she shared with her mother on the school campus. On her worn desk, she spread out books on rhetoric, debate manuals, and essays awarded in previous competitions. If she was going to break barriers, she needed to be better than good. She needed to be exceptional. Meanwhile, in the office of Coordinator Sophia Wagner, an urgent meeting was taking place. Derek, Madison, and their parents were demanding that tradition in the competition be respected. "We cannot allow just anyone to represent the Institute," argued Mr. Morgan, a hotel businessman and the school's main donor. "This girl doesn't even belong to our social circle. What will the judges say when they see her?" Sophia Wagner, a 50-year-old woman accustomed to pleasing influential families, nodded understandingly. "I understand your concern, Mr. Morgan, but officially, we cannot deny her participation if she meets the academic requirements." However, a complicit smile formed on her face. "There are ways to ensure that the best candidate represents us." What none of them knew was that the office door had been left slightly ajar, and that Jacob Oliver, the janitor and Sarah's friend, had heard every word. That night, while Olivia practiced her posture in front of the broken mirror in her room, Jacob told Sarah what he had heard. "They're going to do everything possible to get her out, comadre," he said with concern. "They want to put impossible obstacles in her way." Sarah pressed her lips together, indignation shining in her dark eyes. "My daughter is not alone," she declared firmly. "Let them try whatever they want. We'll see who comes out victorious." What no one at Wellington Institute could foresee was that, in the world of words and ideas, Olivia Ramirez had a power that not even she had fully discovered. A power that was about to change not only her destiny, but also the deep-rooted structures of privilege that sustained that microcosm of appearances. The next morning dawned with an overcast sky over Riverdale, as if the clouds were presaging the storm that was brewing at Wellington Institute. Olivia arrived early, determined to formalize her registration before they could block her path. Upon entering the debate club office, she found Coordinator Sophia Wagner, who was reviewing some documents with a stern expression. "Good morning, Miss Sophia. I'm here to register for the speech competition," said Olivia, extending her impeccably completed form. Sophia looked up, her calculating eyes studying the young woman in front of her. "Olivia, dear, I was just about to look for you." Her honeyed voice contrasted with the hardness of her gaze. "There's been a small change in the rules this year. To participate, candidates must submit a preliminary essay and pass a private audition before the evaluation committee." Olivia pressed her lips together, containing her indignation. She knew perfectly well that this small change was a barrier, designed specifically for her. "When should I submit the essay?" she asked calmly. "Tomorrow, first thing in the morning. The topic is the influence of classical oratory on contemporary politics." Sophia smiled with false sweetness. "And the audition will be during recess. I hope you're prepared." Olivia nodded, taking the paper with the new instructions. "I'll be ready, Miss Sophia." "Thank you." Upon leaving the office, her legs were trembling slightly. One day to prepare. An essay on such a specific and technical topic was nearly impossible. Nearly. She headed straight to the library. ignoring the looks and whispers that followed her like shadows. The Institute's library was an imposing space, with dark wooden shelves that reached the ceiling and windows that let in a yellowish light. There, among dusty books and solemn silence, Olivia found her refuge. She immersed herself in texts about Cicero, Demosthenes, and Quintilian, taking notes frantically. She was so focused that she didn't notice when someone sat across from her. When she looked up, she found amber eyes observing her with curiosity. Cicero. Huh? Interesting choice for casual reading, said the young man with a half-smile. Olivia recognized him immediately. It was Ethan Davis, a senior, known for keeping his distance from the popular groups despite being the son of the owner of the region's most important publishing house. Unlike Derek and his entourage, Ethan preferred the company of books and the relative anonymity provided by his reserved personality. "It's for the preliminary essay for the competition," Olivia responded, cautious. Ethan raised an eyebrow, genuinely surprised. "Preliminary essay? I participated last year and there was no essay." Olivia smiled bitterly. "Apparently this year they've implemented new security measures." Ethan seemed to understand immediately. His eyes reflected a mixture of indignation and understanding. "Let me guess Sophia Wagner put this obstacle in your way." Olivia nodded, not wanting to reveal too much. She didn't know Ethan well enough to trust him. "I can help you," he offered, leaning in slightly. "I have access to my father's private library. There are texts on classical rhetoric that would be useful to you." "Why would you want to help me?" asked Olivia, distrustful. Ethan looked at her directly without a trace of mockery or condescension. "Because I hate injustice," he replied simply, "and because someone who faces the entire system deserves a fair chance." After a moment of doubt, Olivia accepted. That afternoon, after finishing her classes, she followed Ethan to the imposing Davis Library, located in a restored historic house in the center of Riverdale. The place was impressive, with 3 floors of shelves organized by themes and eras. "My father has been collecting books all his life," Ethan explained, as he guided her to the philosophy and rhetoric section. "Many of these volumes are first editions or exclusive translations." For the first time in a long time, Olivia felt she was in the right place. Her fingers traced the worn leather spines with reverence, while her eyes absorbed titles she had never seen in the school library. Ethan observed her with a mixture of admiration and curiosity. "Most people I bring here get bored after 10 minutes, he commented. "How you seem to be in your element," Olivia smiled, this time without reservations. "Books have never judged me for how I look." They worked together for hours. Ethan turned out to be not only an unexpected ally, but also a brilliant collaborator. His knowledge of rhetoric perfectly complemented Olivia's passion for argumentation. When the clock struck 8 at night, they had a solid draft of the essay. "It's exceptional," Ethan admitted after reading the final work. "Sophia won't be able to reject it without exposing herself." Olivia put the document in her backpack, a mixture of pride and gratitude expanding in her chest. "Thank you, Ethan. You didn't have to help me, but you did." "Call me Ethan," he smiled, "and don't thank me yet. The audition will be another obstacle designed to make you fail." Ethan's warning proved prophetic. The next day, after submitting her essay to a surprised Sophia Wagner, Olivia showed up punctually for the audition. To her dismay, the evaluation committee consisted solely of Sophia, Derek Morgan, and Madison Foster. "Olivia, dear, you're going to improvise a 3-minute speech," announced Sophia with false sweetness. "The topic is—" She looked at Derek, who smiled maliciously, "respect for institutional traditions." The message was clear. They wanted Olivia to defend precisely the system that excluded her. It was a trap designed to humiliate her or make her give up. "You have 1 minute to prepare," added Madison, turning on her phone's timer with a mocking smile. Olivia closed her eyes, trying to control her breathing. She remembered her mother's words that morning. "Don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you defeated, honey. Your voice is your power." When the minute was up, Olivia stood up. Her body, that same body that had so often been the object of ridicule, now seemed to radiate a presence that none of those present could ignore. Traditions, she began with a clear and firm voice, are like rivers that transport our history, but even the oldest rivers change their course when they encounter insurmountable obstacles. As she spoke, her speech transformed into a fine critique of the concept of tradition as an excuse to perpetuate privileges. Without directly attacking the Institute, Olivia wove an impeccable argument about how truly valuable traditions are those that evolve and adapt to include new voices. True respect for our institutions, she concluded, looking directly into Sophia's eyes, does not lie in keeping them static and exclusive, but in allowing them to grow and be enriched by the diversity of experiences that each of us brings. An absolute silence followed her words. Derek and Madison exchanged uneasy glances. Sophia cleared her throat, visibly uncomfortable. "Well, Olivia, you may go. We'll inform you of the results." Olivia left the room with her head held high, although inside she was trembling. In the hallway, to her surprise, she found Ethan waiting for her. "How did it go?" he asked, genuinely interested. "I think it wasn't what they expected," Olivia replied with a small smile. Ethan accompanied her to the cafeteria, where he bought her a coffee. As they talked, Olivia noticed the curious glances from other students. No one could believe that Ethan Davis, despite his tendency toward isolation, was sharing a table with the scholarship fatty. "You don't have to do this, Ethan," Olivia said quietly. "Being with me won't win you any popularity points." Ethan looked at her intensely. "Do you think I care about popularity? I've spent 3 years actively avoiding it." His comment made Olivia laugh, momentarily breaking the tension. It was strange to have an ally, someone to share ideas with without feeling judged. It was even stranger that this someone was Ethan Davis, a boy who could have easily integrated into Derek and Madison's golden circle, but had chosen to stay on the sidelines. The following afternoon, an announcement on the main bulletin board unleashed a whirlwind of whispers in the hallways of the Institute. The list of selected participants for the speech competition included, against all odds, the name of Olivia Ramirez. "This has to be a mistake," exclaimed Madison, tearing off the list to confront Sophia Wagner in her office. What no one knew was that morning, Ethan's father had visited the Institute's director. Mr. Frank Davis, besides being the owner of the region's most prestigious publishing house, was also one of the permanent judges of the state competition and a respected philanthropist. "My son has shown me the essay of an exceptional student," he had said with his characteristic soft authority. "It would be a real shame if Wellington Institute lost the opportunity to be represented by such extraordinary talent." The message had been clear. Olivia's participation was now under the scrutiny of someone with more power and influence than the Morgan and Foster families combined. That night, while closing the kitchen with her mother, Olivia received a message from Ethan. "Congratulations on qualifying. Shall we start preparing your speech tomorrow?" Olivia smiled, a mixture of gratitude and determination shining in her eyes. The battle was just beginning, but for the first time she felt that she wasn't fighting alone. With Ethan's unexpected help and the strength she had cultivated during years of silent resistance, she was ready to challenge not only those who underestimated her, but also her own fears. What she couldn't imagine was that her path to the competition would be plagued with increasingly personal and painful obstacles. Derek and Madison would not give up so easily, and they had resources they had not yet used. The war for the stage of the speech competition was just beginning to show its true face. The days that followed the publication of the list were a carefully orchestrated hell for Olivia. What were once occasional taunts became a systematic campaign of humiliation. During physical education class, someone hid her uniform, and she had to participate in her regular clothes, becoming the target of laughter when she tried to complete laps on the track. In the cafeteria, her tray mysteriously appeared with double portions, accompanied by cruel notes, "For the speaker who talks with her mouth full." One morning, upon opening her locker, she found all her belongings soaked in soda. Among the ruined notebooks was the draft of her speech for the competition, now a sticky, illegible mess. Olivia clenched her fists, breathing deeply to contain the tears that threatened to betray her. She wouldn't give them that satisfaction. "You need to report this," Ethan told her when he found her trying to salvage some notes in the bathroom. "To whom?" Olivia replied bitterly. "To Sophia Wagner. Who's behind all this? To the director who only sees the donations from the Morgans and the Fosters." Ethan fell silent, recognizing the sad truth in her words. The entire system seemed designed to protect those who already had privileges. "Then we'll have to fight with other weapons," he said finally, a firm resolution in his voice. "Come with me." He took her to the old theater at the Cultural Center, a space that his family had restored years ago. The place was empty at that hour, with its red velvet seats and its polished wooden stage bathed in light, filtering through the stained glass windows. "My grandfather was an actor," Ethan explained as they climbed onto the stage. "He taught me that the true power of oratory isn't just in the words, but in how you pronounce them, in how you inhabit the space, in how you transform your vulnerability into strength." Over the following weeks, the theater became their refuge. Every afternoon after classes, Ethan and Olivia worked tirelessly. He taught her breathing techniques, vocal projection, and stage presence. She contributed the raw honesty of her experiences and a natural ability to build arguments that resonated with truth. Meanwhile, at the Institute, the attacks continued. The lowest point came when someone created a fake social media page titled The Whale Speaker, with humiliating montages of Olivia and cruel comments about her physical appearance. The page went viral among students in a matter of hours. That night, for the first time since beginning her battle, Olivia cried inconsolably in her mother's arms. "I can't take it anymore, Mom," she sobbed. "Maybe I should give up." Mrs. Sarah dried her daughter's tears with hands roughened by years of hard work. "Listen to me, Olivia," she said firmly. "In this life, there are two types of pain. The kind that destroys you and the kind that builds you. They want to destroy you, but you can use that pain to build something they can never tear down." The next day, Olivia arrived at the Institute with unusual calm. During recess, while her classmates obsessively checked the page of mockery, she headed to the center of the main courtyard. She took out a small portable speaker that Ethan had lent her from her backpack and connected it to her phone. "What's the fat girl doing?" asked Madison, loud enough for everyone to hear. Olivia activated the speaker and began to speak. Her voice, amplified by the device, expanded throughout the courtyard, forcing everyone to listen. "My name is Olivia Ramirez," she began with a clear voice. "I'm the girl from the Whale Speaker page. I'm the girl you insult, exclude, and humiliate every day." An uncomfortable silence fell over the courtyard. The teachers supervising recess looked at each other, undecided about whether to intervene. "For years I've endured your taunts in silence. I've found cruel notes in my locker. I've cleaned soda from my books. I've heard your laughter when I enter a classroom," continued Olivia, her voice gaining strength with each word. "But today, I'm not here to complain. I'm here to thank you." Confusion was reflected in the faces of all present. Each insult has made me stronger. Each humiliation has taught me more about human cruelty than any book could. Every time you tried to silence me, you gave me more reasons to raise my voice." Olivia paused, her eyes scanning the now attentive faces. "In the speech competition, I will talk about the power of words to hurt, but also to heal. And you, without knowing it, have given me the perfect material." With that, she turned off the speaker and walked with dignity to her next class, leaving behind an astonished silence. Among the crowd, Ethan smiled with pride. Some students lowered their gaze, ashamed. Others, like Derek and Madison, exchanged looks of concern. The narrative was changing. That afternoon, during their practice session at the theater, Olivia seemed transformed. "What happened to you today?" asked Ethan, impressed by the intensity with which she worked. "I found my topic," she replied with a conviction she hadn't shown before. "I'm not going to talk about abstract theories or great historical speakers. I'm going to talk about what I know, the power of words to define who we are and how others see us." Ethan nodded, understanding the depth of her choice. "It will be powerful because it will be authentic," he said, "but it will also be personal and painful. Are you prepared for that?" "Pain is already a part of me," Olivia replied with a sad smile. It's time for it to also be my strength. Days turned into weeks. As the competition approached, something unexpected began to happen at Wellington Institute, Olivia's public. Intervention had caused a subtle but significant change. Some students, impressed by her courage, began to greet her in the hallways. Others, who had never actively participated in the taunts, but hadn't stopped them either, now sought small ways to show support. One morning, Olivia found an anonymous note in her locker. Your speech in the courtyard gave me the courage to face those who mock me for my accent. Thank you for speaking for all of us. It was the first of many. Soon her locker became a repository for confessions and thanks from students who, like her, felt marginalized for different reasons. Something beautiful is happening, she commented to Ethan during one of their sessions. We're creating a community of the invisible. Ethan, who spent more and more time with Olivia each day, had begun to see her with different eyes. He admired her resilience, her sharp intelligence, and the warmth she offered even to those who had hurt her. His attraction to her grew day by day, although he tried to hide it under the facade of friendship. While Olivia's popularity grew among a certain sector of the student body, Derek and Madison's frustration increased. Their plan of public humiliation had failed, and now they faced the real possibility that Olivia could win the competition. This is getting out of control, complained Derek during a meeting at the luxurious foster home. If she wins, the entire social structure of the institute will collapse. We can't allow it. Madison, whose frivolity hid a calculating mind, smiled maliciously. I have an idea, she said as she picked up her phone. The fatty has a weakness, her mother. The day before the competition, while Olivia and Ethan were practicing one, last time in the theater, Mrs. Sarah received an unexpected visit in the Institute's kitchen. Mr. Morgan, accompanied by Sophia Wagner, was waiting for her with a grave expression. Sarah, we greatly appreciate your work here, Sophia began with false sweetness. You've been a pillar for our school community for years. That's why it pains us to have to do this, continued Mr. Morgan, extending an envelope. Certain irregularities in the kitchen inventory have come to our attention. Mrs. Sarah turned pale. The envelope contained manipulated photographs, supposedly showing her stealing supplies from the kitchen. This is false, she protested, indignant. I would never take anything that doesn't belong to me. The images are quite convincing, replied Sophia coldly, but we're willing to forget the matter if Olivia decides to withdraw voluntarily from the competition. It would be a shame if you lost your job and your housing on campus, don't you think? Sarah felt as if the world was crumbling beneath her feet. Her job was the only support for her and Olivia, and the small service house their only home. But she also knew how important the competition was for her daughter, how much she had fought and suffered to get there. That night, when Olivia returned home, she found her mother sitting at the kitchen table with reddened eyes but a determined expression. What's wrong, Mom? She asked, alarmed. Sarah took her daughter's hands in hers. They came to threaten me today, she said in a broken voice, telling her everything about the fake photographs and the ultimatum. Olivia felt a wave of rage flood her, followed by her deep discouragement. I'll withdraw from the competition, she decided immediately. I'm not going to let them hurt you because of me. No, Sarah interrupted her firmly. We're not going to give them that satisfaction. I've worked honestly all my life, and no one is going to tarnish my name with lies. But your job, our home. We'll find another job, another home if necessary, Sarah replied, a steely determination in her voice. But your dignity, your voice, that's priceless, honey. Tomorrow you'll go on that stage and show them who you really are. That night, mother and daughter cried together, but they also forged a resolution that no threat could break. When Olivia finally fell asleep, Sarah made a decision. She took an old address book from a drawer and looked for a number she hadn't dialed in years. The Riverdale Municipal Auditorium shone under ceremonial lights. Its historic walls, witnesses to centuries of history, now hosted the prestigious state speech competition. The seats filled with the cream of local society, politicians, business people, educators, and influential families who saw in this event not just an academic competition, but a rite of passage for the regional elite. Backstage, the participants nervously reviewed their speeches. Representatives from the most prestigious schools in the state, all with impeccable suits and confident attitudes, except for Olivia. She wore a simple blue dress that her mother had specially made for the occasion, fitting it to her figure with such care that no high-fashion designer could match. "You look beautiful," said Ethan, appearing at her side with a small box in his hands. "This is for you." Inside was a silver brooch in the shape of a feather. "It was my grandmother's," he explained. "She wore it in each of her theatrical performances. She said it gave her the courage to transform her fears into art." With trembling hands, Olivia accepted the gift and pinned it to her dress, deeply moved by the gesture. "I don't know if I can do it, Ethan," she confessed, insecurity finally surfacing after weeks of forced bravery. "Out there is the cream of society, including Derek and Madison's parents. They all expect to see me fail." Ethan took her hands, looking directly into her eyes. "Listen to me, Olivia Ramirez. You're not here to please them. You're here to speak your truth, to represent all those who never had a voice on these stages. And whatever happens today, you've already won by daring to be here." His words acted as a balm. Olivia breathed deeply, letting calm gradually replace fear. At that moment, an event assistant approached to inform them that there were 5 minutes until the competition began. In the auditorium, the atmosphere was one of anticipation. In the front row, the Morgans and the Fosters chatted animatedly with Sophia Wagner, who couldn't stop praising Derek's oratory skills. A few seats away, Frank Davis, Ethan's father, observed everything with an inquisitive expression. And in the last row, almost invisible among the elegant audience, Mrs. Sarah waited with her heart in her throat, accompanied by Jacob, the janitor, and by a woman whose face remained partially hidden under an elegant hat. The presenter climbed onto the stage, giving the official welcome to the 35th State Speech Competition, platform for the brightest minds of our youth. After a brief speech about the importance of eloquence in public life, he proceeded to introduce the jury, 5 prominent personalities in the academic, political, and business spheres, including Frank Davis. "Our first participant," announced the presenter, representing Bilingual America's College, Sebastian Lewis. A tall, lanky young man took the stage, delivering a technically perfect speech about international relations in the digital era. He was followed by other participants, each addressing safe and traditional topics with trained but predictable eloquence. When Derek's turn came, the Wellington Institute audience applauded enthusiastically. His speech on leadership and tradition as pillars of progress was a barely disguised ode to the status quo, full of grandiloquent phrases and quotes from conservative figures. At the end, he received an ovation, especially from the front row where his father nodded with pride. "Our next participant," continued the presenter, with a slight hesitation when reading the name, representing Wellington Academic Institute, Olivia Ramirez. A murmur ran through the auditorium when Olivia took the stage. She saw the expressions of surprise, the eyes that looked her up and down, evaluating her figure, the barely disguised whispers. For a terrible second, she felt her legs paralyze. Then her gaze found Ethan among the audience, who gave her an encouraging smile. Further back in the last row, she saw her mother with her hands clasped in silent prayer. She breathed deeply and approached the microphone. "Words that build, words that destroy," she began, her voice initially soft but clear. "That's the title of my speech, but it could also be the title of my life." Silence fell over the auditorium, a silence different from that which had preceded the other speakers. It wasn't the polite attention given out of obligation, but the genuine listening that arises when something authentic is about to be revealed. "Since I can remember, I've been defined by the words of others," continued Olivia, her voice gaining strength. "Fat, scholarship kid, cook's daughter, the one who doesn't belong. Labels that sought to enclose me in a box of limitations, that wanted to convince me that my worth was determined by my appearance or my social background." In the front, the Morgans and the Fosters shifted uncomfortably. Sophia Wagner paled slightly. "Many of you will wonder what someone like me is doing on this stage." Olivia paused, scanning the audience with her gaze. What can a cook's daughter know about the great oratory tradition? What right does a young woman who doesn't fit conventional beauty standards have to occupy a space reserved for the best? Her question hung in the air, uncomfortable and direct. "I'll tell you what I know," she continued, her voice now firm and passionate. "I know that words can be weapons that wound more deeply than any knife. I know that an insult whispered in a school hallway can destroy a girl's self-esteem. I know that no's repeated systematically can build invisible but impenetrable walls." As Olivia developed her speech, the audience leaned forward, captured by her disarming honesty and the growing strength of her arguments. It wasn't just her personal story. It was a profound reflection on how language shapes realities, creates invisible hierarchies, and can both oppress and liberate. "But I also know something else," her voice acquired a tone of hope. "I know that the same words that can destroy can also heal. That a 'you can do it' said at the right moment can change a life. That your voice matters are the 4 most powerful words someone can hear." In the last row, Mrs. Sarah cried silently, while the woman in the hat took her hand in support. "Today I'm here to reclaim the power to define myself," continued Olivia, her presence now filling the entire stage. "To demonstrate that eloquence is not the privilege of those born into certain families or with a certain appearance. I'm here for all the silenced voices, for all those who were convinced they didn't deserve to be heard." When Olivia reached the conclusion of her speech, her voice vibrated with a contained emotion that resonated in every corner of the auditorium. So the next time you're tempted to use words to pigeonhole, limit, or hurt someone, remember this. Words don't just describe reality, they create it. And all of us, absolutely all of us, deserve words that build us up, not tear us down. The silence that followed lasted barely a second before the auditorium erupted in applause. These were not polite or obligatory applause, but a genuine ovation that grew until it became a multitude standing up. Even some members of the jury stood up, visibly moved. Backstage, as Olivia returned trembling from the adrenaline, Ethan received her with a spontaneous hug. "It was perfect," he whispered, in her ear. "You've shown them exactly who you are." The last participant had the difficult task of following Olivia. Her speech, technically correct but emotionally flat, barely managed to hold the audience's attention, whose minds were still processing the words of the young woman they had just heard. When all participants had finished, the jury retired to deliberate. In the lobby, during the intermission, small groups formed that commented animatedly. To Olivia's surprise, several strangers approached to congratulate her, including parents from other schools and some local business people. "I've never heard something so honest in this competition," an elegant woman told her, shaking her hand. "Regardless of the result, you've changed something today." Meanwhile, in a secluded corner, the Morgans and the Fosters maintained a heated discussion with Sophia Wagner. "This is unacceptable," hissed Mr. Morgan. "How did you allow her to use the stage to attack us? It's obvious she was referring to us." "If Derek doesn't win after this, there will be consequences," added Mrs. Foster threateningly. What they didn't know was that a few meters away, Frank Davis heard every word, his expression becoming darker with each veiled threat. When the audience returned to the auditorium for the announcement of the results, the tension was palpable. The presenter climbed onto the stage again, accompanied by the 5 members of the jury. Before announcing the results, he began, "The president of the jury, Mr. Frank Davis, would like to say a few words." Frank approached the microphone with serene steps and natural authority. "In my 15 years as a juror for this competition," he began, "I have heard brilliant speeches, technically impeccable, intellectually stimulating, but rarely have I heard one that has moved me to the point of questioning my own convictions." His gaze swept across the auditorium, briefly pausing on the Morgan family and the Fosters. "Today, this competition has fulfilled its true purpose, not only to celebrate technical eloquence, but to recognize the transformative power of authentic speech," he continued. Therefore, the jury has decided unanimously to award first place in the 35th State Speech Competition to Olivia Ramirez from Wellington Academic Institute. Frank Davis's words fell like a bomb in the auditorium. For an instant, the silence was absolute, as if everyone needed a moment to process what they had just heard. Then a wave of applause began in the last row, where Sarah jumped for joy, embracing Jacob, and quickly spread throughout the venue. The reaction was not unanimous. In the front row, the Morgans and the Fosters remained rigid, with expressions of disbelief that quickly transformed into indignation. Derek, who had already stood up anticipating his victory, slumped back into his seat with his face distorted. Sophia Wagner, pale as paper, frantically sought ways to control the damage. Olivia, paralyzed in her seat, felt Ethan gently pushing her toward the aisle. "Go," he whispered. "It's your moment." With trembling legs, Olivia advanced toward the stage as the applause continued. As she climbed the steps, she saw the imposing figure of Frank Davis waiting for her with a genuine smile and a large gold medal that gleamed under the lights. "Congratulations, Miss Ramirez," he said, placing the medal around her neck. "Your courage today has honored the true spirit of this competition." The presenter also handed her a carved crystal trophy and an envelope with the full university scholarship awarded to the winner. A photographer approached to immortalize the moment, but before she could take the photograph, a commotion arose from the front row. "This is a farce!" Mr. Morgan had stood up, his voice reverberating in the auditorium. "This competition has been manipulated. I demand an immediate review of the voting." A murmur of discomfort ran through the room. Frank Davis approached the microphone again, his expression now severe. "Robert, I suggest you take a seat," he said firmly. "The jury's decision has been unanimous and is documented. Any questioning must follow the official channels." "I will." "Not be silenced," insisted Morgan, while his wife unsuccessfully tried to make him sit down. "We all know that girl doesn't belong here. She's the daughter of a simple cook." The insult hung in the air like broken glass. Several attendees gasped, horrified by the vulgarity of the comment. Olivia, still on stage, felt the world stopping. But before she could react, a female voice emerged from the back of the auditorium. "You're wrong, Robert." All faces turned toward the woman in the elegant hat, who was now standing up next to Sarah. As she removed her hat, she revealed a face that many recognized instantly. Michelle Lancaster, the most respected federal judge in the state and one of the most influential jurists in the country. "Sarah Ramirez is not a simple cook," continued Michelle, advancing down the central aisle with a determined step. "She is an extraordinary woman who has raised an exceptional daughter alone, supporting her with dignity and honest work, while you and your family have treated her like a servant." Mr. Morgan paled, recognizing an adversary he could not face. "And Olivia," Michelle smiled, looking at Olivia on the stage, "is not only my goddaughter, but a young woman whose talent and courage make me deeply proud today." A murmur of amazement ran through the auditorium. No one at the Institute knew of this connection, not even Ethan. Michelle Lancaster continued advancing until she reached Sarah, taking her hand in a gesture of solidarity. "So I suggest, Robert, that you think very carefully before continuing." "With this pathetic scene," concluded Michelle with a voice of steel, "especially considering that I have evidence of how you and your friends fabricated false accusations against Sarah to intimidate her." Mr. Morgan's face went from white to red. Without saying another word, he took his coat and rushed out of the auditorium, followed by his family and the Fosters. Sophia Wagner, abandoned by her protectors, discreetly slipped out through a side exit. Frank Davis, regaining control of the situation, approached the microphone again. "I believe this incident only confirms the relevance of our winner's speech," he said with a smile. "Words reveal who we truly are, for better or worse." The ceremony continued with the presentation of second and third places, but the moment already indisputably belonged to Olivia. When she was finally able to leave the stage, she found herself wrapped in a triple embrace. Her mother, Michelle, and Ethan surrounded her with a love that powerfully contrasted with the hatred they had just witnessed. "Why didn't you tell me Judge Lancaster was your godmother?" asked Ethan, genuinely surprised. Sarah answered for her daughter. Michelle and I grew up together in the same neighborhood before our paths separated. She left to study law in the capital while I stayed here, but we never lost touch. Last night when Sarah called me to tell me about the threats, I knew it was time to intervene, added Michelle. No one threatens my family and gets away with it. The rest of the night passed like a dream for Olivia. Local journalists wanted to interview her, students from other schools came to congratulate her, and even the mayor of Riverdale wanted to take a photo with her. But most significant was the small group of young people of diverse body types and backgrounds who approached shyly. Your speech made me feel that I could be up there someday, said a girl of similar build to Olivia's. I never believed someone like us could win something like this. Amid the celebration, Ethan took her to a quiet corner of the lobby. There's something I need to tell you, he began, unusually nervous. These months working with you have been the most meaningful of my life. Seeing how you faced each obstacle, how you got up after each blow, has made me realize something. Olivia looked at him expectantly, her heart racing. I like you, Olivia, he finally said. I like you not despite who you are, but precisely because of who you are. Your strength, your intelligence, your kindness, even to those who don't deserve it. You've taught me to see beyond appearances, to value what truly matters. For a moment, Olivia thought she was dreaming. Ethan Davis, the boy who could have had any girl at the institute, was declaring his feelings to her. Are you sure? She asked in barely audible voice. Don't you care what others say? Ethan took her hands in his. If I've learned anything from you, it's that the opinions of those who don't value you for who you really are don't deserve to influence your decisions, he replied with a smile. Besides, my father adores you. After hearing your speech, he told me he had finally found someone who could maintain interesting conversations during family dinners. They both laughed, the tension dissolving into a new complicity. And there, in a corner of the lobby of the municipal auditorium, with the crystal trophy gleaming under the lights and the murmur of celebration as a backdrop, Olivia and Ethan shared their first kiss. A kiss that sealed not only the beginning of a relationship, but the victory of a truth that transcended words, that a person's worth is never in their appearance or their origin, but in the strength of their spirit. 6 months later, the hallways of Wellington Academic Institute were unrecognizable. After the competition scandal and the subsequent investigation that revealed years of abuse and discrimination, the board of directors had dismissed Sophia Wagner and had implemented strict policies against bullying. The debate club, now directed by a new teacher, had opened its doors to students of all backgrounds and appearances. Olivia, now president of the student council, was preparing to enter university with the scholarship she had won in the competition. Her speech, which had gone viral on social media, had turned her into a symbol for many young people who felt marginalized or invisible. One afternoon, while organizing a university fair for senior students, she received an unexpected visit. Madison Foster, visibly nervous and without her usual entourage of followers, was waiting for her in the main courtyard. I wanted to talk to you before I leave, said Madison, avoiding her gaze. They're transferring me to another school next semester. Olivia observed her in silence, remembering all the humiliations, the taunts, the tears shed in solitude. It would be so easy to return the contempt now, to make her feel small, as she had made her feel so many times. I'm sorry, continued Madison in the face of her silence, for everything, especially for the mockery page. I was the one who created it. I know, Olivia replied simply. You knew? Madison looked at her surprised. How? Your writing style is quite recognizable, even when you try to hide it, explained Olivia. But that doesn't matter anymore. We all make mistakes when we let ourselves be carried away by prejudices or fear of what's different. Madison seemed to crumble before her eyes. Her shoulders dropped and, for the first time, Olivia saw beyond the perfect girl facade, discovering a young woman as insecure and vulnerable as any other. How do you do it? Asked Madison in a broken voice. How can you forgive after everything I did to you? Olivia thought carefully before responding. It's not so much about forgiving as understanding that we're all learning, she finally said, and recognizing that the pain we cause others often reflects the pain we carry inside. The two young women looked at each other, a silent understanding flowing between them. They wouldn't be friends, perhaps they never would be, but they had found common ground in shared vulnerability. That night, in the small service house they would continue to inhabit until Olivia started university, the investigation had completely exonerated Sarah of the false accusations. Mother and daughter had dinner with Michelle and Ethan, who had become a frequent visitor. "I have news," announced Michelle, raising her glass of water. "The foundation for young speakers that we proposed has been approved. The first workshop will begin next month in 3 public schools." Everyone applauded. The idea had emerged shortly after the competition. Create a program that would bring oratory and debate to schools with few resources, giving voice to young people who, like Olivia, had much to say, but few platforms where they could be heard. "And you, Olivia, will be the lead instructor," added Michelle with pride. Olivia felt a wave of gratitude and responsibility. Her journey was just beginning, but she was no longer alone. She had her mother, whose silent strength had taught her never to give up. Michelle, who showed her it was possible to break social barriers without losing compassion. Ethan, who had revealed to her that true love sees beyond superficial labels, and she had her voice. That voice she had discovered in the midst of pain, that she had polished facing rejection, and that now rose not only to defend her own rights, but those of all who remained invisible at the margins. "To all of you," she said, also raising her glass. "To my mother, who taught me that dignity is not negotiable. To Michelle, who showed me that power well used can transform realities. To Ethan, who helped me believe in myself when I needed it most. And to all those who, like us, dare to claim their place in a world that tries to silence them." As they toasted, Olivia remembered every moment of her journey, the taunts in the hallways, the cruel notes in her locker, the tears shed in the solitude of her room. But she also remembered the first time she dared to raise her voice in the school courtyard, the sensation of freedom upon climbing onto the competition stage, and the look of admiration in the eyes of other young people who had seen themselves reflected in her. She understood then that the words that had once defined her, fat, scholarship kid, different, had lost their power to hurt her. In their place, new words flourished: brave, inspiring, authentic. Words that she herself had chosen, words that built instead of destroying. The future opened before her like a blank canvas, ready to be filled with stories of overcoming, of justice, of transformation. And although she knew the road would not be easy, that there would still be battles to fight and prejudices to dismantle, she was no longer afraid. Because she had discovered the most powerful truth of all, that when you find your authentic voice and dare to use it, there is no label or prejudice that can define you. You are simply and wonderfully who you choose to be. And that perhaps was the most important victory, beyond the trophies and applause, beyond the defeats of those who tried to silence her, beyond even the love she had found. The true victory was in having discovered herself, in all her strength and vulnerability, in having transformed pain into purpose and wounds into wisdom. In the backyard of the small house, under a starry sky of Riverdale, Olivia looked at the people she loved and knew, with absolute certainty that she had found her place in the world, not the one others had wanted to assign to her, but the one she herself had created, with the strength of her will and the power of her words. And that certainty, that inner peace that no cruel word could now disturb, was the most valuable gift her journey had given her, a gift that she was now ready to share with all those who, like her once, waited in silence for the opportunity to make their voice heard. Dear listeners, we hope that Olivia Ramirez's story has moved you deeply. Her journey from silence to the power of her own voice reminds us that words have the power to transform realities, to build bridges where there were once walls. As Olivia discovered on her path, our worth is never determined by how others see us, but by the strength of our spirit and the authenticity of our voice. Each of us has a story that deserves to be told, a unique message that the world needs to hear. To continue this emotional journey, we've prepared a special playlist with equally captivating stories of people who, like Olivia, dared to defy expectations. and reclaim their place in the world. Find it here by clicking to your left. If this story resonated in your hearts, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. Your comments are the voice that drives us to continue, creating content that inspires questions and transforms. Every day we bring unique stories that explore the complexity of life, internal struggles and triumphs of the human spirit. Have you ever felt that your voice wasn't valued? Have you found, like Olivia, the courage to speak your truth despite obstacles? Or perhaps you've identified with Ethan, discovering beauty where others only saw differences. We await you in the comments to continue this conversation, because just as Olivia discovered, when we share our stories, we not only free ourselves, but we also give permission to others to do the same. Until our next encounter, remember that the most powerful words are those that come from the heart.